Driving east at speeds exceeding 80 miles an hour, Clyde skidded into the Dexfield Amusement Park and Campsite, located just north of Dexter, Iowa. The park offered the privacy needed to tend to the wounds suffered by Buck and Blanche. However, the discarded bandages, which were soaked with blood, and the bullet holes in the car began to attract the attention of the local residents. Finally, Dexter's 2 police officers began to add things up and didn't like what they found. They then called the Des Moines, Iowa Police Department for some additional help. Thinking that the strangers were probably nothing more than bootleggers or possibly hobos, an estimated 50 young men and women from the Dexter area decided to follow the police and watch the fun. Kurt Pfeiffer, who was there that morning, remembers.
There wasn't too much excitement around in 1933 in July. They went out, we went out, they parked their cars back, half a mile back down the road. Everybody walked up within where we knew the site was. Actually, all these people were within 200 yards of where they were camped, which is this area directly back of me now. We just stood there and waited. And all at once we heard the command. The guy yelled loud enough with one of the law officers to put up your hands and come out. The law was there. Well, all they got in response was a bunch of bullets. The elevation of the campsite here, which was a little lower than the elevation of the road, the trajectory of the bullets came right out over the road, just probably 10 feet over our heads. Everybody went to the ditches. After the shooting had stopped and we felt that it was safe to go over there, we were asked, and they said they had departed going down the hill from our right here and straight north down to the river.
At this point, it was every man for himself. Taking this exact route to the river, Buck and Blanche then went to the northwest, while W.D. and Bonnie hid in the underbrush next to the stream. Looking for a way out, Clyde, who was wounded during the shootout, crossed the river and moved into a cornfield.
We was out there getting the cows rounded up and getting ready to milk. It was, I guess, it was about 5:45. Dad asked him, he says, "What do you want?" He said, "The laws are shooting the devil out of us." And he says, "All we want's a way to get out of here."
Sheriff Nee told a young man with us, "I think we've got to look for some bodies." He said, "We know they were hit, you know, with quite a few bullets from the posses out here." And he said, "We need some volunteers." Well, to go look for some dead people didn't seem to be too bad an idea. There were about 6 of us in the vanguard going down the hill. And when we reached the old riverbed, which we went down a considerable bank to a flat area between there and the river, which was approximately 50 yards wide. And this great big log was lying there, which was, oh, it was 4 foot high at least, and 8 or 10 feet long. And this looked like a good place to hide. We had observed, coming down this old bank in the soft dirt, heel marks. And so we stopped.
Clyde used his 2 fingers, and he whistled through his mouth, and he'd take Jones, come out of the cornfield in about, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, and he was carrying Bonnie on his back, piggyback. And when he got her up there, why, he kind of let her down on the ground, and Dad asked him, he says, "What do you want us to do?" He says, "You put one arm around your neck," and then he told me, he says, "You put the other arm around your neck and carry her."
And then she got up from back of the log, Blanche, that was Buck's wife. She had on a pair of boot breeches. She had on a pair of nice riding boots. She had on dark glasses. She didn't look too clean, but she says, "My husband is lying on the ground, he can't move." Well, we didn't really believe that, so we demanded that he get up. and is he armed? She never answered that. She came out and stood at one end of the log or a little bit beyond, and we kept telling him to get up and come out, and she was pretty hysterical.
He'd been shot through the cheekbone and grazed, and he'd been shot through the shoulder, and when you're 19 years old and you see blood running down a guy's face and been shot a couple times, you kind of do as he tells you to.
I had hold of Blanche's one hand, and a man named James Young had the other side of it. Musselman and a man named Frank Cody had Buck's hand. Buck would walk for a while, and he would seem to pass out, and they'd have to drag him for a few feet and maybe stop, and then he'd get his feet under him again, and he'd walk a little way. And we covered, I suppose, better than a quarter of a mile till we got to the area where I think where everybody has seen the famous picture that was taken by the registered staff photographer. He
got in the car, and of course he'd been stealing Model A Roadsters or Fords, and he didn't know how to shift gears in this Plymouth, and he wasn't used to a gear shift car. So finally we got it through his head that how to shift it and everything, and see he had his gun laying on the right-hand side of him, and I was up on the left hand, and if I had been, of course, somebody could have got shot too as far as that goes, but I was reaching over him, and I've often thought many a time if I had just reached over and got a hold of the gun. He'd been shot twice, and I think I could probably stopped him right there, but I'm glad I didn't, I'll tell you that.
Buck, very bad pallor, ghastly looking pallor. His head wound was not covered at the time, was unbandaged. Whether I had lost that in the shootout back at the site where we're sitting now, evidently. Or maybe they hadn't had time, but his brain was exposed. You could see this man, maybe it was on his last legs, that he wasn't going to live too much longer, which he didn't after he was taken to the King's Daughters Hospital in Paris.
We got him backed out and got him started out, and when he went out, why, he told my dad, he says, you will be well repaid for this, just like that. And of course, with the law and everything, why, somebody opened up, what I mean, and told them about that. Well, they censored our mail for about 3 months, what I mean. Our mail was censored. And of course, I'm still waiting for that paycheck. I never did receive it, and I suppose you'll probably send that one of these times.
After the Dexfield shootout, W.D. decided that life with Bonnie and Clyde had become far too dangerous. So he quit the gang and returned to Texas, where he was immediately captured. He then attempted to put as much distance between himself and Clyde as possible.
I have been indicted along with Clyde and Bonnie for the murder of Malcolm Davis, Fort Worth Deputy Sheriff. I was forced along under threats of death with Clyde Bear through many of his gun battles and saw him kill 5 men. Clyde Bear never seemed to care for killing anyone. All he thought of was himself. That's the reason I tried to escape. Just soon kill me as anyone.
You know, Clyde had become far too dangerous. So he quit the gang and returned to Texas, where he was immediately captured. He then attempted to put as much distance between himself and Clyde as possible.
I have been indicted along with Clyde and Bonnie for the murder of Malcolm Davis, Fort Worth Deputy Sheriff. I was forced along under threats of death with Clyde Bear through many of his gun battles and saw him kill 5 men. Clyde Bear never seemed to care for killing anyone. All he thought of was himself. That's the reason I tried to escape. Just soon kill me as anyone.
You know, he told quite a few tales after, you know, he got